What's going on, guys? This is Matt Wachlinski. I'm at the Strength Shop, and we got another training session. I'm going to kick another narration, and if this gets annoying, please leave a comment. I think what I'm going to do instead of the narration is just turn the music off, turn the fan off, and just chat at you, yell at you while we're doing the work. So yeah, we've got athletic aesthetics. Week 1, day 4, another back session. Day 2 and day 4 are both back sessions. We just change it up a little bit. Trying to get that back volume up. Let's see. This program is definitely more upper body focused. We are doing some legs, but not nearly as much as I do in any other program. This is just a lot more upper body aesthetics based, but there is some athleticism involved. And you can't base everything just off week 1. We'll see how things progress. So we started with some T-bar rows. I got my little homemade slant board. It keeps you in a better position. You get to lean back a little bit because the angle of the T-bar, it feels pretty good. So I made that thing up, and boom, there we go. Rigged up a homemade landmine. If you want to know how to do the homemade landmine, go back a couple videos on my YouTube page, and you'll see how I did that. Homemade landmine or Viking press. I use it for both. Here we're doing a chest-supported 45-degree row. I just used my lat pull-down, did a little strap attachment to it, set up our incline bench for a little chest support, fix the bottom down a little bit. You'll see as I get out of here, boom, boom, a little bit of a mess, but not too bad. We're under control. I will help my training partner get into position so he's not pulling the cable sideways, crooked, all over the place. I'll grab the weight, pull it up, let him get into position pretty easily. Make sure he's under control. I'll let the weight go, and he's going to bang these up. This is actually a really good one. I love this one. A nice 45-degree row. You get a nice stretch at the top, get a good squeeze at the bottom. To make this a lot more about back, you can hit those lower lats, those rhomboids really good by really focusing hard on driving the elbows back. Don't just pull the hands back, because when you pull the hands back, obviously you are, but when you're focusing on driving the elbows back more, you get a much deeper contraction. By pulling the hands back, you're going to hit the biceps a little bit more. So when I am training my biceps, I'm thinking about bringing my hands or my wrist towards my deltoids. When I'm thinking about training back, I think about driving my elbow back as far as it'll go. Hence the reason why it's a great idea to do lots of single arm work for back, because you can get a much greater range in motion by pulling that elbow back farther. A lot of people will do a lot of torso rotation, a lot of twisting when they're doing single arm work, but try to refrain from that. It's not about how high you can get the weight if you're twisting your torso. It's about how far you can drive your elbow behind your back. And if you're twisting your torso, you're not exactly driving your elbow behind your back. Okay, another angle of the same thing. I love this variation. We're using again, our TSS landmine. You can buy a landmine or make your own the way I did it, or find your own way. Again, maybe there's a little bit of twist on my torso, but I'm really trying to lock that lumbar region in and drive that elbow back. I have a little bit more of an angled pull, almost like a J. If you look at the bar path of my exercise, my path, it's a little bit of a J path. Whereas you see Billy here, he's very straight up and down. They both toyed with everything. I like to stretch the top out in front of me a little bit more, and when it's at the bottom, and then when I pull it back towards my hip. So it's definitely more of an angle where Billy is straight up and down. And then we're going to finish with a bunch of face pulls and some curls. Some light stuff, trying to get a little delt and bicep pump. Okay, so I did a couple big back exercises, actually one big back exercise with the T-bar row. Then we did a 45-degree row with the cable, a one-arm row with the landmine row, or a Meadows row. It's a variation of a Meadows row, a landmine row, whatever you want to call it. You don't need to use the landmine. You can just use a dumbbell or whatever else you want to use. All very good stuff. And then we're finishing up with some smaller muscles for some health and pump work. Billy's getting his face pulls in. We're using a band and the strap for that. Here, our bicep work of the day, we're going to do some spider curls. I'm doing them with a drag fashion where I'm really, again, you see my elbows will rise, but the goal is to get my wrist as close to my anterior deltoid as I can and really try and squeeze that top. I could probably hold that another second at the top, but I don't over exaggerate that stuff too much. I think intensity and focus to detail would be a pretty good, even if you're not really holding that top. You see, Billy isn't raising his elbow very much. He's locking his elbow in and doing more of a traditional curl, where I do a drag curl by pulling my elbow up and dragging that weight. If I was standing upright, it would be a drag curl. Have a good one.